What's up, guys? So, I want to talk about stories. Okay. There's this concept of a muse. We've probably, most of us have probably heard of that word, right? A muse. It is, to my understanding, someone who brings out the meaning in literature, in poetry, in, it's like, you're like, oh, you're my muse, you give meaning to what I do, right? That kind of energy. So I think the reality of the situation is when you consume art, you give it meaning. When you consume a story, you give it meaning. You decide what that meaning is. There's always that, when people talk about art, they say, okay, that's what you think this painting is about. That's what you think this painting means. That's what you think this poem means, whatever it is. Is that what the artist intended? Answer is probably not. Right? Answer is probably not. But that meaning is just as important as what the author had in mind. Stories, poetry, art, all these things are meant to, they're all meant to have meaning to you, specifically to you. You take what you need from it and you leave what you don't. To give an example, I went through a really, really tough period. And I was drawn to read, I had read it before, I was drawn to read Siddhartha. If you don't know what that is, maybe you know, story of the Buddha, whatever. It doesn't really matter, okay? The story, what the book was does not matter. What I got from it is what matters. I read that book and I drew parallels into my own life. And I drew lines, I connected dots to what this book was saying and what I needed to know for my situation. What I needed to know to get the lesson I needed from my situation. And I think we can all resonate with that, right? We can all resonate with that to some extent. Has there ever been a book that you read that really connected to you in a special way? Not like, oh, that was a good book, I enjoyed reading that book. In a like, holy shit kind of way. Maybe a song. Songs have always been big for me. I always seem to find and listen to songs for the current situation that I'm dealing with in my life. I've always made playlists of them, right? And the consuming of art is a beautiful thing. The making of it, right? The making of it. I don't know if it's for everyone. I genuinely don't know that. But I know people make art in a lot of different ways. I know people create in a lot of different ways. Right? Everyone has their own way. Everyone has their own ways to create. So yeah, it is for everyone. When you find what you're really passionate about, you're creating something. You're putting your energy into something and you are getting something back. Right? And that's beautiful. I want to talk about, this is another thing of mine, Critical Role. Okay. They're, literally the line to the beginning of their show is, we're a bunch of nerdy-ass voice actors that play Dungeons and Dragons. right? Matthew Mercer is an amazing storyteller. Everyone knows that, right? If you've ever listened to something that he says, like listen to a story that he tells, you know he's a fantastic storyteller. There's no denying that. But with these campaigns that they run, he creates that story, he creates that world, right? The story unfolds naturally between this group of friends, right? The story unfolds naturally. But the world, he builds it. He builds that world for these characters to live in, and it unfolds naturally, right? When it's really flowing, when there's laughter and there's joy, and the character, they're all in character, and they're all just role playing, right? They're all in their character, and it flows naturally. There's no thinking, there's no, and I think there's a lot to be learned from that, right? In an abstract way, we are characters, right? There are things that make up our character. And the weird thing is, I think there's a lot of people who genuinely don't know their character, who genuinely do not know themselves, who has not met themselves, right? They settled, or they got comfortable, they got in a life where they're like, I'm content. But we all have wants, and we have hopes, and we have dreams. And I think what stories tell us is to chase them. Is that we all have a purpose. Let's switch topics a little bit, okay? Let's talk about mythology, religion, Greek mythology, Christianity. What's the other one? These are just ones I've actually looked into. Buddhism, right? They all have common themes, right? The characters in these stories. Now, I don't say stories to be condescending. I don't say stories to say it's not real. I think we give credence to what is real, right? We say what is real. It is not anyone else's place to say what is real. I believe that, genuinely. It is not our place to say what is real. It is not our place to say what is feasible, what is possible, right? If you know, you know. Right? If you know, you know. But these stories, not to be condescending again, the characters have common themes. I've always been drawn to Greek mythology, and I've told a couple people this. It's because you can pull the humanity from the gods, right? In the stories, like the Odyssey. What's the other one? Oedipus? That might just be a god. I'm not sure. You can see humanity in them. You can see the trials, the tribulations. You can see the familiar structures that cause drama, that cause tension. You can see them, right? They are a person. They are not, while they have these, godly powers, all this and that, within that world, they are normal. Within that world, they are Yeah. Sorry. Monitor there, and it's giving more light. Not very professional, but that's not really what I do. Anyway, what was I talking about? In the world that they are in, they have these godly powers. But they act like people. You know, you can see the connections. You can see why they're acting the way that they're acting. It doesn't seem strange. It doesn't seem out of character. You know, and that's. You ever been watching a show, and a character does something, and you're like, that doesn't seem right. You know, that doesn't seem like them. And maybe they don't explain it in the rest of the show. I mean, that leaves confusion, right? That leaves confusion. And the reason why is because you've built this character in your head. You've built this character in their head, what they would do next, what, you know, they're supposed to do, right? But only they know what they are supposed to do. Only they know what they're supposed to do. To put it back in the context of shows, right? The writer. Okay, some actors, method acting, okay? They get really into character. Both types of actors do this to some extent, but you can kind of see the difference. You can definitely see the difference, right? If they get into character, there's some improv that happens. They go a little bit off script, but the writers give that character their persona, right? Their characters, their values, right? They write that out in the script. And a method actor will get into character. They will live that character, be in that situation as that character, right? Think about that for a second. Have you ever had someone in your life that you feel like they're out of character, right? You feel like they did something out of character. That isn't them. The truth is, you might not know them. They might not know them. And you might know them. This is getting a little off topic, but there's an article by, what's his name? Nagel, starts with a T. Thomas Nagel. What is it like to be a bat? He talks about, and this video is going places. I don't know where the fuck it's going. Just stay with me here. What is it like to be a bat? And he talks about in this article, like, we can't know that. We can't know that because we are not a bat. And that may seem really stupid. Okay, it sounds kind of stupid, but think about it. Right? Even if you're like, okay, well, if I was sitting there, right, I hung upside down to sleep, right, and I couldn't hear, I couldn't see very well, and I could make some clicky noises and see somehow, right? You would be thinking about what it's like for you to be a bat. That's perspective taking, right? You can't really know because you are not that thing, right? Like, even, I got a dog back here, right? I don't know what the fuck's going through her head, okay? Anyone with pets, right? You know. You know. You don't know what the fuck's going on through their head, but you think you do. You think you do. But you don't. None of us do. It's the same for people. It is the same for people. You are not this other person. You are you. You might be thinking, what is it like if I acted as this other person? You know, what do I think this person would do in this situation, right? The only person that can know that is that person. The only person that can know that is that person. And to go back to shows, right? The only person who would know that is the person who created the character, the writer, right? Even the person stepping into that role that was created by that writer, right? If they go off script, they improvise, right? It makes for great television. It's fucking awesome, right? Like, those improv scenes are usually some of the best in television. But is it true to the character that the writer wrote? Maybe. Maybe not. There's no way to know. And we're looping back around here. Art. You give meaning to art. Thank you, Sky. The actor took on this art and moved it forward, right? Put it into action. Their meaning that they gave to that character that this writer made is just as important as what the writer intended. It's all the same. It's all connected. Art. And art is connected to us because we make it, right? Till next time.